Hello, my name is Samantha, and I'm going to be showing you today how to access Wiley Plus and how to access the problem P5-1A, and also how to calculate each entry for this specific problem. So first off, you want to start off by opening up your browser. Today I'm going to be using Safari, but you can use Internet Explorer, Firefox, any source to get to the internet. So I click on Safari. And then what you're going to want to do is go up to the address bar and type in www.wileyplus.com and hit enter or go. And then this is going to bring you to the home page of Wiley Plus. What you're going to want to do to access your class is actually log in. So you want to log in using your email address. So I'll type mine in here. And then typing in your password, and then hitting log in. So once you're logged in, it's going to direct you to your classes to choose from. We're in financial accounting for the summer of 2011, so we're going to click on that link. And then this is going to direct you to your class home screen. So this is all the different sections that Wiley Plus offers. The first section is Read, Study, and Practice. That's to read your textbooks, study the material using flashcards or crossword puzzles, and practice them using self-tests. The assignments is where the instructor has posted all the assignments for our class. And the gradebook is to check your grades on the assignments. So what we're going to want to do is to open up the assignments section, and this brings you to all the assignments. Today we're going to be doing the assignment named GLS, so you're going to want to click on the GLS link. And then this brings us to the assignment homepage. This just tells you what the start date is, the due date is, any of the policies that the instructor has. So once you read through that, you can hit next, and that's going to bring you to our problem. So the P5-1A problem states, Stein Hardware Store completed these merchandising transactions in the month of May. At the beginning of May, Stein's ledger showed cash of $8,000 and common stock of $8,000. So what the question's going to ask us is to journalize the transactions using a perpetual inventory system. So I've already completed this assignment, so that's why my window is a little bit smaller. I've also made this window over here to show you guys any of the questions that pertain to the journalizing the transactions. That way we can reference this when we're journalizing them. And over here is a notepad that I'm going to be showing you guys how to calculate some of the more complicated entries, and over here is my calculator I'm going to be using to show you guys how to calculate certain entries. So let's start off with May 1st. It states that Stein Hardware Store purchased merchandise on an account from Hilton Wholesale Supply for $8,000. The terms were 2-10 and N-30. So the key words in here is that we purchased merchandise, and the next key word is on an account. So that means since we purchased this merchandise, our merchandise inventory would increase or debit, and our accounts payable would increase or credit as well. So the amount that they would debit and credit would be $8,000. So over here it shows the date. This is the account that's going to be debited, which is the merchandise inventory account. And it's going to be debiting by $8,000 because that's how much we paid for the merchandise. And our accounts payable would credit for an $8,000 amount because we purchased this on an account. So for May 2nd, it states we sold merchandise on an account for $4,400 on terms 3-10 and -30, the cost of this merchandise sold was $3,300. So there's going to be a couple entries for this transaction. Since we sold the merchandise on an account, our accounts receivable would debit by $4,400 right here. And this shows on an account, that's why our accounts receivable would debit. And our sales would credit by the $4,400. So that would be the first entry for this transaction. It shows it right here, and that's to record the sale. So once the sale is recorded, we then have to record the cost of the merchandise sold. So the cost of goods sold would be the account that would be debited in this transaction, and our merchandise inventory would be the account that would be credited. And the amount would be $3,300. So once you go down here, it shows cost of goods sold on May 2nd was debited by $3,300, and the account that would be credited is merchandise inventory by $3,300, and that's to record the cost of inventory sold. So our next transaction is on May 5th, and it states we received credit from Hilton Wholesale Supply for merchandise returned for $200. So that means that we return merchandise to Hilton Wholesale Supply, which is our previous transaction on May 1st, for $200. So that would mean that our accounts payable would be debited because we purchased this merchandise on an account. So our accounts payable would be debited by $200, and our merchandise inventory would be credited by $200 because we're taking that $200 merchandise inventory away because we're returning it. So this is the entry for May 5th. Its accounts payable is debited by $200 since we're returning that merchandise inventory and we would purchase that merchandise on an account. And our merchandise inventory would be credited by the $200 because we're taking that $200 merchandise inventory out and returning it to the wholesaler. So the next transaction is on May 9th, and we received collections in full minus the discounts from customers billed on May 2nd. So these customers that were billed on May 2nd paid their bill in full, which it states here, and they paid within the 10-day account discount period. So this is the discount period. The 3 means the percentage that they would receive discounts if they would pay within 10 days. That's what the 10 means. So since they paid within 10 days, their discount is going to be awarded. So for this transaction, we're actually going to need to make a couple calculations. So I'm going to go over here to my notepad to show you how to calculate this. So since we sold the merchandise on the account for $4,400 and they paid within the discount period, we would give them a 3% discount. So let's calculate the discount. That would be $4,400 times the 3%, or 0.03 to calculate it, which would equal their discount. So let's calculate it on the calculator over here. So we do $4,400 times 0.03, which would equal their discount. So we're giving them a $132 discount since they paid within the 10 days. Now, in order to calculate how much we would receive from that transaction, we would need to minus the discount from the $4,400. So we'll do that right here. $4,400 minus the discount of $132. So we would do $4,400 minus 132. And that equals $4,268, which we would receive, or Stein's Hardware would receive. Okay, so for May 9th, the accounts that would be debited would be cash, since we're receiving the $4,268 from the transaction on May 2nd. And another account that will be debited would be the sales discounts. And the sales discount is $132. So let's go down here, and once you input it, this is our sale. This is how much we're receiving in cash, $4,268, and this is how much they're receiving for their discount. And that all adds up to $4,400, and that's what our accounts receivable account would be credited, because we have received that amount minus the discounts. So that's why the accounts receivable is credited for the full $4,400. Okay, so now let's go up to our next transaction, which was on May 10th, and we actually paid Hilton Wholesale Supply in full minus our discounts. Now, we have to go back and see what the terms were for that purchase in order to calculate the discount. So we purchased the merchandise on the account for $8,000, and we paid this amount before the 10 days was up, so we are going to receive a 2% discount. Now, we also need to take into account the May 5th transaction, which we received credit from Hilton Wholesale Supply for merchandise returned on May 5th for $200. So first, let's take that return out of our amount that we're going to be needing to pay. So we do $8,000, which was the amount that we purchased the merchandise for. So here's the $8,000 we're taking. $8,000 minus the $200, which we returned the merchandise on May 5th. So that would equal $7,800 that we owe to Hilton Wholesale Supply. So since we owe this much, we also now need to take into account our discount that we're going to be receiving, because we paid this within the 10 days. So our discount is 2%, so we do $7,800 times 2%, or 0.02. And that would equal our discount. So let's go to the calculator over here and do $7,800 times 0.02, and that equals our discount. So we're receiving a $156 discount. So to journalize this transaction for us, we're going to we're going to be debiting the accounts payable, because we're actually paying this account off, so we don't need to have that in our transactions anymore. So we're going to be debiting the accounts payable by the full $7,800, because we don't take into account the discount on the debiting account for accounts payable. We are going to be taking into account the discount through a different account. So let's firstly go to our cash account, and that's the account that we're going to be paying. So in order to figure out what we're actually going to be paying to Hilton Wholesale Supply, we need to do one more calculation of finding out how much we owe. So in order to do that, we would do $7,800 because that's the amount we're actually going to be owing to Hilton Wholesale Supply